I'm Joseph.
And I'm Nick.
This is Fish Jelly.
Yes.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride to you as well. Here we are. We're in the midst of it.
Today's the LA Pride Festival and Parade, which is different from the WeHo Pride Festival and Parade, which were last weekend. And then I think there's a downtown LA Pride.
I think so.
Which I would assume is it in June?
I don't know.
I feel like I should know here. Let's see.
I feel like that came later in the summer, but I don't know.
Oh, well,
no.
I just looked it up and they don't have dates on the website. I feel like that should be at the very top. But
well, maybe it's all year round.
Oh, it was in August of last year, so it's coming. Oh, so you're right, the end of the summer.
Yeah, because we went to what's that party called?
Where it's like swimming pool themed.
Some Super Tramp or something.
Is that what it was called?
It's something like that, yeah.
That was a bit much for me.
I know.
Anyway, so this year, LA Pride, they have a few like they have different categories of grand marshals. I know one of them is Niecy Nash and her wife. And then another is, we just reviewed him in I Don't Understand You. Andrew
Rannells.
Yeah.
Rannells.
Well, I hope he didn't listen to that review. But
why? Because you didn't.
Well, because we didn't love the movie.
Yeah, we didn't hate it.
He's okay. Anyway, we got to do something fun last night.
Mm-hmm.
We got to see Latoya Jackson at the Catalina Jazz Club.
Yes, we sure did.
We did. And she, what was there was a name An Evening with Latoya Jackson, clips, conversations, and stories.
There was a slide that had more of a description in improper English that also directly references Michael.
That's right. Yeah. Although Latoya Jackson doesn't need an introduction. Like, she's not like one of these people who's like, Ariana Grande is my sister. Like, no shade to Frankie Grande, but I mean, Latoya Jackson is a bona fide celebrity.
I think anybody that's going to show up there doesn't need any kind of introduction.
Yeah. So I think she's a big deal. I got a little emotional watching her, just thinking about, the Jackson family is Black American royalty.
Mm-hmm. And
even Janet, during her Icon Award acceptance speech at the American Music Awards, she said that like only in America could her family have done what they did. And the moderator of the event last night, he said that there will never be another family like the Jacksons. And I thought that's true.
Likely not in that industry.
Yeah. So to see her up there, knowing that, not all of the Jacksons are still with us, but in the audience, which we didn't realize until she said something, Catherine Jackson was in attendance sitting across from us.
Yeah.
I didn't even notice her. Like, she was right there. I guess I didn't believe. I was more distracted by the man in front of us. We went with a friend and he said that he looked like, what did he say, Tupac? The man to me looked like if you mix Tupac and MC Hammer.
Yes, that is apt. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then at one point there was a lady who walked out right before the show started who we thought was Latoya.
She had the same stature and style of hair.
Yeah, but ultimately it wasn't. But Catherine Jackson, the matriarch of the Jackson family, was in attendance, and so was Rebe. Centipede. Well, that's Latoya's laugh.
Yes.
And we knew we were going to get a chance to meet her and take a photo with her. And I was doing everything. Well, I think I was also nervous, but I kept saying I have to not do her laugh in front of her, even though I wanted to.
For a split second, when we realized Catherine was there, I was like, "Oh, she's being monitored.
Catherine wants to make sure Latoya doesn't
like
say
not
anything.
talking bullshit after some embarrassing moments in the past.
I wrote, wow. And then, the friend we went with, he's a problem. So in the car ride over, he's playing videos of an interview Latoya did years ago where she basically says that her mom used to call her brother Michael the F slur. Although she says the actual word.
I hate to say it.
I hate to say it, but mother used to call him a bleep. Like, oh my God. But
times have changed.
I will say I wrote down some things that she said that I didn't really know, or things that I thought were kind of cute. I think it was money well spent.
Well, when are we ever going to see Latoya Jackson?
Because exactly.
Up close and personal.
Exactly. And I thought, while she does seem guarded and she seems... You know what she seems like? Someone who has been famous for a very long time, who at a point, I mean, through several points throughout her life and her family's trajectory, I mean, they just aren't famous. They're like super famous. And all the craziness and all the things that she said. And I totally forgot to look this up because she doesn't mention him. They don't come close to mentioning Latoya Jackson's ex-husband, Jack Gordon, who she was married to for 8 years. Famously, she said that he was abusive and controlling, and they didn't come close to even mentioning any of the scandal, any of the abuse, any of the crazy shit she said. The closest that the moderator got was asking her, you're single, what are you looking for in a person? To which she said honesty. But then remember she had that reality show and there was that guy who was like her assistant, but then he was acting like he was her man even though he seemed gay. And I don't know if like he's still in her life. I do follow her on Instagram and she's kind of active, but most of the posts are very like strange and clearly
they're not
staged.
They're not Britney Spears strange.
No, they're just like, oh, here's Latoya standing in front of a mirror, and her size. I mean, I don't know what size this lady is. I mean, does 000? Like,
she's itty bitty.
She's so tiny.
Yeah, her Instagram's kind of like, come on, Latoya, let's put something on. Let's get some content. Content.
Okay.
Take a walk today.
But let me just go through some things that I thought people might find interesting. So she told a story about how she started off by saying that when she was younger, she was excruciatingly shy.
And then looped back and said, remember, guys, I was shy. Yes.
She likes to say, you have to remember. You have to remember. No, you have to remember. Okay. But she's saying that she was so shy that she didn't perform well in school because she wouldn't speak up, that she got held back in the first grade. She failed the first grade.
I don't know what Joe thought about that.
She doesn't really talk about her dad except to say that, she mentions like how he didn't think that the kids were talented. Like he was surprised that the kids had talent and that it was their mother who recognized it because she would sing and harmonize with them. And so she had to tell Joe like, hey, the kids are talented. And he seemed shocked.
She gushes over Catherine several times. Yes.
Yeah. Calling her mother perfect. And which, that's lovely. And I'm glad that, Catherine looked great. She was in a wheelchair, but she's been wheelchair bound for a while.
Well, they kept that woman up late though.
It was late. I mean, I was tired. So I know Catherine was tired. She's 95. Yeah. But she looked like she's always looked, and Rebe looked great.
I was kind of surprised at how short Rebe was.
Yeah, well,
I mean, Latoya's not tall either, but
maybe because Latoya's so thin, it kind of balances out a little.
Like a precious.
She kind of reminds me of what's the character from Nightmare Before Christmas?
Jack Skeleton.
She kind of looks like Jack's.
God, I can say a precious, fragile bird.
Something I didn't know is, throughout the years, Janet has said that she had a million nicknames. Some of like Slaughter Pig and Dunk and like some that were kind of traumatic. But the one I had never heard that Latoya said is they used to call Janet Squirrel because when they were younger,
Squirrel.
Latoya said Janet was a tomboy and liked to climb trees, and she would try to get her to climb trees. And Latoya's like, I don't do that. And then she goes, and I still don't do that. Yes, I would hope at 69, weighing 80 pounds, you wouldn't be climbing trees.
She's also calling her Jan.
She never says Janet. She says Jan.
Janet does not seem like a Jan to me.
No, but
she doesn't talk about Janet very much.
No, she only mentions that they used to call her Squirrel, and then the moderator asked her, can you list off your siblings from oldest to youngest?
And thankfully she still can.
And she still can. She knew, and she said, and of course Jan is the youngest. And then she tells a story about Squirrel, and that was it. That's all she mentioned. And then the only thing she really says about she tells a story that I'll get to, but then one that I didn't write down that I just recalled is she talks about how she is the one to credit. She gets full credit for Michael's pseudo-military style. So
I guess we'll never know.
Which I knew that because he's talked about, in older interviews, like from the late 80s, early 90s, how close they were and how she would help out with his style. So, I mean, that isn't a surprise.
Sure, but that also felt like a preface for her new line of clothing that's being...
Oh, my God. Then we got a little commercial for her... What's it called? Latoya Lifestyle Latoya or Latoya LL.
Yeah.
Which I think is weird. It should they should capitalize on Jackson. Like
well, apparently the Middle East, like Abu Dhabi's getting it first.
Like why wouldn't you call it like LJL, Latoya Jackson Lifestyle, not LL? And then which makes me think when we were standing in line to be seated, there was a woman in front of us wearing her fake Fendi sunglasses. Mm-hmm. But Fendi is F. The symbols like FF, like inverted, upside down, whatever. But hers were FL, and I kept trying to think, what do I think FL stands for? All I could think of was Florida. So the moderator asked, they had that variety show, and they've worked with every celebrity back then. Who were some of her favorites? And Latoya said Betty White and Cher. I wonder how Cher would interact with Latoya today.
I don't think she would.
Well, I think she'd probably be nice to her, but clearly like, I can't talk to this lady.
It would be in passing.
What did you think of her overall demeanor? She seems lucid, poised, guarded.
It not unlike Janet giving interviews. Like I'm present and I'm pleasant, but I'm not letting you see beneath the veneer of this little smile.
Which comes across as, I would say professional.
Yeah.
Like she's poised. She obviously knows what to do with her body. She knows where the light is. She knows how to hold a microphone. Like this is someone who's been in the spotlight for a very long time and knows, I don't think she doesn't seem like the most intelligent woman because she went on a rant about veterans that the intention was that we should respect veterans, which I agree with. But it's just, she apologizes for everything she says before she says it. Mm-hmm. Like this training that she had of like not trying to offend people and be universally appealing, and which in today's climate feels a little like it doesn't quite fit.
She seems like she doesn't want to make waves, but the sacrifice that you make doing that is you seem kind of boring.
Yeah. Oh, so the moderator had questions from the audience. I don't know where those questions came from because no one asked us for input.
Did you not see us? Did you not think that we would want to ask something?
Oh, shout out to a couple of people who listen to us or watch us. Said hi.
Yes.
Ava and
Charlene, I believe.
Charlene or Charlotte?
I thought it was Charlotte.
Well, Charlotte, that I can't remember shit. So, but it was lovely meeting you too.
And there was another young gentleman as we were leaving that said hello.
Oh, okay. Well, shout out to all of y'all. I'm glad that you also enjoy Latoya. Okay, so one of the questions was, were the Jacksons friendly with the Osmonds? And Latoya said, yes, very friendly. They would interact a lot. And she said, I didn't know this, but why would I? That Mother Osmond and Mother Jackson, Catherine Jackson, they share the same birthday.
And Mother Goose.
Oh, Latoya said that she was very close with Rosemary Clooney.
Uh-huh.
Do you want to tell the story?
Well, Rosemary Clooney was George's aunt, and I guess Rosemary kept trying to hook Latoya up with George
To the point where like she would get him on
on the
the
phone.
phone with George Clooney, and she was like, I don't know why you'd want me to like it seems like she wasn't interested and he was like shy but
Well, he likes Italian women that are much younger, so.
And then she talked about that back in the day they had a little group, like the Silver Fox group that included Al Pacino's mom
And
and
Jackie
Jackie
Stallone.
Stallone.
The moderator's like, y'all know Jackie Stallone?
Yeah, I think everyone in the audience.
Yes.
First of all, I mean, there were a couple of people who looked a little younger, but
There were some younger gays that were snickering a lot. Yeah.
but I think most of the people in there were older than I am. So yes,
Mhm.
we know who Jackie Stallone is.
But wow, what an odd coterie of
Ensemble.
women. Yeah.
Ensemble. She was asked what her favorite performance has been.
Oh God, it was kind of depressing because they have.
Well, so you're gonna say, so the answer was her time at the Moulin Rouge in France, and so then the moderator explained that, and Latoya explained that back then they didn't allow video recording devices in the Moulin Rouge,
Mhm.
so there is no professional video of her doing it. But then the moderator says, "But we have some bootleg video," and they play it, and I have to say, I mean, some of the performances I see today, they wish they could.
Yeah.
I mean, she looked great. The song she was singing is clearly not one she made. Like they probably did it for her. So it sounds, you know what I was getting from it? Like Lady Gaga.
Sure.
But then this is from the 80s. But the staging, the choreography, the lighting, it was kind of gaggy.
It felt like a transmission from another time.
Yeah.
For sure. But it's like there's nobody that's going to get her a cleaned up version of her stuff. Like, I don't know. Just seems kind of.
Well, she does seem like a bit of a relic. I mean, even the fact that they're touting her as a Grammy award winning, and it's like, well, I think her intro is like Grammy award winning singer, actor, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, her Grammy was for like co-producing some reggae out. It's like, well, she's not known as a producer. So I feel like she does seem like a little bit of a relic.
Or a singer. There was some merch there, though.
There was merch. I think all the visuals for her little clips, to call it clip stories and conversations, it's more of a conversation and stories, but the clips, they looked a little bootleg.
I
think I could have done better making her graphics.
Well, right. If I had to grade the presentation, the slideshow, if you will, that was given to us, it would probably be a C-.
I was gonna say C-.
Like the everything from the font to.
Yes, it just feels like dated.
Like, who made this and who authorized this? And keep in mind, this is the second night of this show.
Well, second night of the show at this venue, but because it was November when I was going to go to Palm Springs to see her do the same show. Oh, I forgot to mention there was a comedian who opened the show.
Oh, yes.
Who I thought was very funny. The crowd was not laughing, but he was on America's Got Talent, I think.
Mm-hmm.
He's a skinny black man with an afro, and his first joke was something to the effect of like, I know it's weird seeing me because I look like a microphone holding a microphone. I thought that was funny.
I thought he was super cute, and I thought he was funny as well. But people were distracted; they were still eating.
True.
That terrible food at the Catalina Jazz Club.
Oh, can we talk about Wow, we are spoiler or not spoiler behind the curtain. The rest of this, after we stopped talking about Latoya, the rest of the podcast we recorded yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So we've already talked about the restaurant section, but yeah, the food is. They have to make their money somehow. So of course, there's like a minimum, which we well exceeded because we got couple bottles of alcohol, cocktails.
$35 meatballs and
and like $30 quesadillas that taste like
they just microwave that shit from Trader Joe's.
I mean, if you paid $8 from a food truck for those quesadillas, you'd be mad. Yeah, it'd be too much. So the fact that we paid, I don't know how much you paid. The bill was not cheap.
The Catalina nachos.
But I again think that it was well worth the cost to see her speak. But I'm bringing up the comedian because right before he got on, I went to the bathroom for like the third time,
Mhm.
and he stops me. He's like, "Hey, Chris," and I'm like, "Oh, I'm not Chris. You're not Chris Isaacson, the promoter." No. You sure? Mm-hmm. Okay, well, you enjoy the show. Thank you. So I'm like, who the hell? Chris Isaacson, we looked him up and then we saw him running around the club.
Uh-huh.
How would you describe? I said he looked like,
Well, I thought we landed on the agreement that he was a cross between Nancy Cartwright and Gerard Depardieu.
and a little bit of Ronan Farrow.
That was your addition, yes, to the DNA. I
Well,
think
specifically the hairdo. So to be clear, this is a white man with blonde hair who has shoulder length hair, a center part, little stringy. That's the Ronan Farrow of it all. But
cherish.
he confused me for that. So clearly you've never met the promoter.
He hasn't met the promoter,
But the way he ran up on me was like, you need to run me my money
Where's
before
my
I get
check?
up on the stage.
Yeah. Where's my
So,
check?
young man, I hope that you did receive your money. Another storyline is that he likes cougars, which of course is giving me Dion Cole.
Yes. Well, Lisa Lampanelli as well.
Oh, right.
That shtick.
But getting back to Latoya, so the moderator asked her if she would consider going back on reality TV. And she's like, well, I don't know, because, nowadays it's like, I'm not going to. She basically says that she's been asked. She doesn't say this, but you could tell that she's saying that she's been asked a number of times to be on like Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, I can't do the drama anymore. I'll get to Celebrity Apprentice. But she says that she liked doing The Masked Singer, which she's done like 4 different franchises of, because it's a family show. Like everyone can watch.
She wants to bring people together. She doesn't want discord. That's not a word she used.
Yeah. Okay. What did you think of the moderator?
Soft touch, also boring.
Yeah, sorry, girl. He seems sweet, but I think
innocuous, completely innocuous.
But also, I'm sure that she wouldn't have tolerated tougher questions,
right? Yes,
and better explanations, and so he was doing what he had to do, and she definitely needed someone to help her, because I mean, can you imagine her trying to have a one woman show?
Oh no!
So
because he would ask her questions that actually are pretty basic questions. She'd be several times. She's like, "Why would you ask me that? Or I didn't have time to prepare that. I can't think of one." Stuff like, "What's her favorite song that she's recorded?"
Yeah, like not like provocative questions. Like,
She's like, "I can't answer that on the spot without having time to think." And then people from the audience would shout things. She'd be like, "Oh yeah."
Okay, so Celebrity Apprentice. So she talks, and Celebrity Apprentice, hosted by our president Donald Trump.
Yeah.
She said originally she was apprehensive to do it, and she knew who the cast was, and she said that she was afraid of Lisa Rinna.
Mm-hmm.
But then it turns out Lisa Rinna was not going to be her problem. It was Nene Leakes and Star Jones jumping on her. So she talked about that, but she told an interesting story about Donald Trump, because she said that she knows Donald Trump very well, that he had flown her out to do many like birthday events,
3 birthday events,
and that she went on some dates with him. But then when she got on Celebrity Apprentice, and that also he wanted to meet Michael Jackson, and that Latoya used to live in Trump Tower.
Mm-hmm.
So one time when Michael was performing in New York, Trump
he wanted his kids to meet Michael.
Went to Latoya and said, I want my kids to meet Michael. You need to make it happen. And she told the story about how he was like busy praying. And so she felt awkward interrupting him, but she did. So that he could meet Donald Trump.
And Michael feigned not knowing who that was.
And then Michael didn't even know who who Donald Trump was. And then she said that when she got on Celebrity Apprentice, Donald Trump in front of everyone would keep saying like, I don't know you, Latoya, right? I don't know you. And she was saying that she thought it was weird because he knew her very well, and that
Oh.
she assumed it was part of the TV show, like the game.
Oh yeah, probably.
But yeah, that was I'm kind of surprised she told that story.
Uh,
She also talked about how, because the moderator did ask, like, how often do you see your family? And one question he did ask her that she navigated around pretty well is he asked, like, who's your favorite sibling?
right.
Because I think that's a dumb question.
I do too.
Like, I mean, imagine if you had, like, you and I could answer that question easily because it would just be our sisters. But if you come from a large family, I feel like that's like when people ask the Braxtons that, and Tamar's dumbass is always trying to pick somebody.
Reeby's in the audience.
And then Reeby's in the audience.
And she didn't say Reeby.
Well, so Latoya goes, oh, my favorite is my mom.
Yes.
So I thought, well, that's probably the best answer you could give.
She is my mother.
But so he asked her, like, how often do you all get together? And she says, not as often as we would like. Some people, only like 2 of us live in LA, and some live overseas. Like Janet, and I didn't know Jermaine was in the Middle East, and Jan's in London. Jan Stevens. But she talked about how they used to have family day, and so it would sort of rotate between the siblings who would plan to get everyone to come to one spot. And she told a story about, I think it was Tito, who planned a camping trip.
Yes.
And that she assumed it would be glamping. I thought that was cute. I was surprised she even knew the term glamping, but so she talked about that story, and clearly that was not her style of vacationing. What did she say about meditation?
That she meditates. That she does it. That was about it. She doesn't go into like David Lynch depth on it.
Latoya Jackson meditates. She talked about her friendship with Kathy Hilton.
Oh yeah, I gotta get Kathy Hilton.
Said that they're best friends, and that whenever she's with Kathy, it's a lot because Kathy wants her to stay, like, slumber party, and she wants to go eat breakfast. And Latoya goes, and I have to tell her, Kathy, I'm not eating breakfast.
Somebody asked one of the audience questions about Club 54.
Oh, Studio 54. Yes,
Club
she
54.
talks about how her and Michael used to go, and that they were so naive back then, and they would see everyone sniffing this powder from necklaces.
Yeah.
And that she didn't realize what it was, but that...
And then she'd be like, nobody's getting tired.
But she's like, gosh, no one would get tired, and they want to stay up all night. And, she told a cute story about Liza Minnelli, how Liza Minnelli was the nicest person, because whenever they'd go out, Liza would bring them back to her apartment and make sure they were well taken care of.
Have breakfast.
But she's like, they were all just so hyped up and wouldn't go to sleep. Cocaine, girl, cocaine.
But then if you're not on that and you were up all night, presumably drinking, like, how are you not collapsing?
A couple more funny stories, and then I'll wrap this up. I thought were funny. She talked about how, well, the moderator kind of called her out about her car, because he said, oh, we were supposed to meet you. Or he goes, I want to share a story if it's okay. We were supposed to meet you, and you were running late or something because your car wasn't working. And I was like, oh, don't make her seem braggedy. So then, and you could tell she was kind of like, oh, okay, you're going to tell that story. But basically she was like, well, I have cars, but I don't drive them. And she's like, certain kinds of cars, like, exotic vehicles, you have to keep them running, is, the old adage. And she's like, well, I have a Rolls Royce that I don't ever use. And so, of course, yeah, it needed maintenance that I don't do. But then she talked about how she told this kind of long story about how her Rolls Royce wouldn't pass a smog check.
Yep. Well, she doesn't like to drive, but every time you fail a fog or a smog test, you have to drive the car however many miles.
100 miles, and then it didn't pass, and they told me I have to drive 300 miles, and I'm like, I can't do that. So I had someone do it.
So some poor schlub had to drive that Rolls Royce 400
miles. But we're all happy to know that she said it did eventually pass the smog check.
But she kind of sighs and goes, oh, silly cars. Yeah.
Which is kind of the reaction I wanted initially.
Yeah, silly cars.
Another story she told is an audience question was about bubbles. Like, can you talk about bubbles?
Mess. Somebody wanted to hear mess. Yeah.
Mess. But she talked about how Bubbles,
literally a monkey jumping on the bed,
would you come to her room and jump on her bed and use her toothbrush.
I know. I'm like,
oh, I hope that you threw that toothbrush away. And then she claimed that the staff at the house like chef and all the people loved Bubbles. And
Oh,
I'm like, bitch, you know those people could stand that damn monkey running around.
you know
And
that.
she's like, the chef would hold Bubbles while he'd cook, and my mom would say, oh, you can't do that. It's not sanitary. No, please don't make my stew holding a monkey, okay?
I want to hear the memoirs of some of these staff members.
If you pass me my oatmeal and there's monkey hair in it, oh my
monkey
God.
hair.
But the best part of her Bubbles story is she's like, oh, Bubbles like to put hot sauce on his food. So she was like, Bubbles was black.
No, Michael said he was black.
Oh, Michael used to say Bubbles was black because Bubbles liked to put like Tabasco on his food.
Not you calling this monkey black.
That was too much for me. But she reiterated something that Janet said during her AMA Awards, which is that, their family just loved music.
Mm-hmm.
And like Janet said, the rest sort of came with it. Like hard work and dedication led them to have this life and these careers that are just, I mean, I just don't even know how, like we said in the beginning, like to duplicate the impact that this family had and the celebrity and all the drama and craziness. It was lovely just, seeing her sitting there frail, but still going. And I thought she looked great.
Bedazzled, yes.
Fully bedazzled in her pseudo-military
she kept
Swarovski embezzled jacket.
She kept us waiting a long time to get those pictures, though.
It did take a long time for the meet and greet.
Mm-hmm, because they kept saying she got to say goodbye to the family. I'm like, get these ladies out of here. Why? They don't need to talk.
Yeah.
What is she talking about Catherine for? We waited for like an hour and 15 minutes.
Well, don't you live with her? Like what?
Well, exactly. Like you've all.
Aren't you going to see her on the car ride home?
Could you please run through this line?
Anyway.
And then so we did get pictures with her.
Which I'll put on Instagram and YouTube, of course.
Which they were very.
I'm not pleased with the pictures, but I'm happy to share them.
Well, they bustle you back there, and they run you past, make you stand on the mark, and you can't touch her, and she's behind a velvet rope, but.
She told you.
Well, I turned to look at her and say hello, like because they kind of manhandle you, and I'm like, well, I don't really care about the picture. I just want to say hi after waiting in this line. And then she's like, oh, you should come closer. And so
the picture of her kind of reaching for you, like, come closer.
But then it kind of screwed me up because then I'm leaning back and look like, what? I don't think I'm supposed to come closer anyway.
And then. At the end, to me, she reaches out like, thank you for coming.
Yes, she did.
Oh, well, thank you for being here.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else you'd like to say about Latoya?
No.
All right. Moving on to 5 on the black hand side, 5 black filmmakers who are not Tyler Perry. Who do you have for us this week?
Although, we did give a decent review to a new Tyler Perry movie.
I know. You know what? I'm glad you mentioned that because we have to give props that we did like his new film Straw.
Yes.
More than we've liked any of his films in a while.
Yeah, probably since For Colored Girls. But I think, to be fair, I think that it's that rests on the shoulders of the 3 actresses that I think are really quite good in it.
The cat agrees.
The cat agrees. She thinks Tyler Perry's usually trash.
All right, well, who do you have for us first?
Nikyatu Jusu. Who we reviewed her 2022 debut, Nanny.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that.
Yes, and I believe, strangely, Morgan Spector, who we just reviewed a film with him, had a supporting role in that. Rebecca Hall's husband. He was. Oh, yeah. I think he was the man cheating on his wife, Michelle Monaghan.
Okay.
I think she has a new horror film in development, but yes, Nanny.
Next.
Chris Rock.
Y'all know Chris Rock.
I think I referenced Head of State that hasn't been published yet because that was in She the People in our.
Oh, right.
We haven't formally announced that
we haven't announced yet that we're going to drop a long form podcast review of the first 8 episodes of Tyler Perry's She the People, now streaming on Netflix. So if people want to get ahead of that, they can start watching it now. We'll probably drop it by the end of this week.
Oh, hopefully before. We're halfway through.
Yeah.
But yeah, Head of State, which I quite like. I love Lynn Whitfield, and that is a remake technically of Heaven Can Wait, which, the old Warren Beatty film. I've never seen that.
Oh, now I'm remembering why you mentioned it, because we were complaining that She the People feels so dated, and even something like Head of State feels way more fresh and intelligent and funny
Yes.
than She the People. Spoiler.
And then he also directed I Think I Love My Wife, which I also really like, starring himself opposite, what's her name, Lawrence Fishburne's wife.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a remake of an Eric Romer film, Love in the Afternoon. And then Top 5 was his last film, which I don't think was a box office success, but I remember us both quite liking that.
Chris Rock didn't direct the remake of Death at a Funeral.
No, that was Neil LaBute.
Okay.
Even though it's all black cast, basically. He does have a new film I see in development called Misty Green, which it sounds like he'll star in as well. So, yeah.
Next.
Kemp Powers. He's one of the 3 directors of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, but also Soul.
Oh, with Jamie Foxx?
Yes. Have you seen that?
No. And Tina Fey?
Mm-hmm.
No, I haven't, but I know of it.
I'd say it's worth a watch. It's quite emotional. And he also wrote One Night in Miami, which Regina King directed, her directorial debut. And if you haven't seen that, I also recommend that.
Next.
This person, I haven't seen his, I think it's his second film, but I believe we're going to review it. It comes out July 2nd, starring Danielle Deadwyler. It's called 40 Acres.
Mm-hmm.
But the director's name is R.T. Thorne.
Nice.
So, I mean, she's worth watching anything in. So it has a very interesting, I think it's set in Canada. It's about black farmers in the post-apocalypse, and zombies might be involved, but it sounds interesting.
And last, but certainly not least,
Richard Ayoade. Am I saying his last name right? He's an actor. You've seen him in things. He's in The Watch. He's in Joanna Hogg's The Souvenir Part 2. He directed Submarine, which I feel like you like the main kid that acted in that. And then The Double, which is a Dostoevsky adaptation starring Jesse Eisenberg and Mia Wasikowska. And I still haven't read The Double, but I did like that film.
Okay. All right. I only have one thing to mention in the restaurant section. So we were at the Alamo Drafthouse in downtown LA this past week to see Dangerous Animals. And we arrived a little early because we like to be prompt. So we had a couple of drinks at the bar.
Yes.
And then we went to our theater and sat down and ordered a couple of more drinks. And once, if you order drinks in the theater, you get the check shortly before the movie ends. And so you were about to sign it when I asked if I could look at it. And I noticed that on the bill, there was a charge for large party, 20%. And I'm like, don't sign that. I need to go ask about this. And then the amount of the bill was the exact same as the amount of our bill at the bar, which means that they also charged you that fee at the bar. So we exit the theater when the movie's over, and we're just standing there like a couple of assholes when finally an employee who was not our server walks up and he goes, oh, the large party fee?
Yeah, he was like a yard away, 2 yards away. And
and he goes, oh, well, that's the mandatory tip, but we don't have a button for that. So we use that, but we should probably just cross it out. Like, no, you shouldn't just cross out.
Not if I'm being charged.
Like, I need to know what you're charging me for, and this doesn't make sense. And since when do y'all charge a mandatory tip? And where do we see that anywhere?
Yeah.
So I didn't like that at all. So I emailed the theater.
Oh, you did?
Yes, okay. Because I just think that's really shady. Like, and then and in my email I said, I will continue to frequent the Alamo Drafthouse in downtown LA because I like it. But I will think twice before ordering something, and I will certainly double check my bill if I do. Like, that's just not cute. Like, if they have a mandatory tip situation, then I'm fine with that. But don't rig up some shit that's like large party for the two of us. No.
Yeah, I'm like, did we? Because it seems like it was a mistake. Clearly,
but it wasn't because the bartender at the bar and the server in the theater did you both. So I guess they're just doing this. And
clearly, if he knew, he guessed immediately what we were waiting around.
And the fact that he knew,
yeah.
But for me standing there with my arms crossed, looking fussy, what I was about to complain about.
Did they write back?
No.
Oh, well.
But I feel good spilling tea now. Okay. There was a question, or there were a couple of comments and a question this past week asking about an embargo.
Okay.
And so I thought I would explain what that is.
Well, why? Did we violate one?
No.
Okay, good.
But I think it was related to
Ballerina.
Ballerina. And so sometimes when we go to a screening, well, most of the time,
or get a screening link,
it's before the movie's set to be released.
Yes.
Right. So that gives people time to watch the movie and write about it and hopefully say nice things. But for more highly anticipated films, for films that have spoilers that will affect the viewing experience, the publicist will ask that you withhold like social commentary or your review until a certain date and time.
Yes.
And that's what an embargo is.
Yes. Every film festival, all of those films also have an embargo. You're not allowed to publish the review before the film premieres.
Because over the years, we'll get comments like, why can't you just drop it now? Why can't? And it's like, well, because the people who let us watch the movie asked that we hold it. They asked everyone who saw it to hold it. So of course you would want to do that.
And then if you're violating,
lest you not get invited again.
Right. If you're violating embargoes, you will not be invited.
And it's not that serious for me to but I think sometimes with certain films, people seem confused or.
Well, we also, more often than not, unless we miss the press screening, we're not paying to see things. And more often than not for, bigger, higher profile things, we'll wait on purpose to drop it on Thursday because we're adults and we talk about the whole film, which of course includes spoilers. So that is actually, we intend that out of respect as well.
Yeah, we're trying to not be too ridiculous about just ruining movies. But but that's what an embargo is. Okay, films released we didn't cover. Baron's Cove.
This, I still kind of might watch this. Now, it sounds kind of good. It stars Garrett Hedlund, I think is a violent father. It's some kind of a genre film, but it's directed by Evan Ari Kelman. But the second lead, I believe, is Tremel Tillman, who we both really liked in the latest Mission Impossible film, and who I believe is also in, is it Severance?
Okay.
Which we haven't watched, but after our Mission Impossible review, I noticed a lot of people like, yeah, he's really great in that. And it's like, well, eventually I'll see that.
Next is Emmanuel.
Emmanuel dropped, I believe it's Neon, dropped it direct to VOD. And I have been waiting to see this, but I guess it's not very good. It's a rehash of, the infamous 1970s Emmanuel erotic thriller figure who was popularized by Sylvia Christel, and now this one stars Noémie Merlant, and it's directed by Audrey Diwan, who won the Golden Lion for her debut, Happening, an abortion drama that we also reviewed. It premiered in San Sebastian, but we knew, I think everybody kind of figured there was a problem because she won the Golden Lion and did not get invited back to Venice, because San Sebastian happens almost concurrently with Venice. So it hasn't been very well received, but it is available to stream. I still want to watch it, and I will.
Lastly, Predator, Killer of Killers.
We almost covered this.
Until I realized it was a cartoon.
Animated. It's an animated film directed by Dan Trachtenberg and Joshua Wasung. Michael Biehn has a voice in it, and of course it is about... I think some other enemies facing off with predators. I'm not sure. But, at a couple screenings we were at this week, I heard people, as critics are often to do loudly as we wait for films to start, talk about how amazing it is.
Oh, well, I may never know. Projects of interest. There will be a sequel to One of Them Days.
Yeah, it's in the works. That's exciting.
Yeah. I actually rewatched One of Them Days on my flight back from Miami last week. Yeah. And it holds up. Yeah. I think the final act gets a little, but Keke Palmer and SZA together are just, a match made in heaven.
Yes. So it's great because that was a February release this year.
And actually there's a Nepo baby in there, the white lady.
Is it Carrie Fisher's daughter?
Or an Apatow or... No.
Oh, it's Apatow. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Either way, she's like the white lady who's gentrifying. What do they call it? Baldwin Village. Yeah. And they're like, "What the hell is Baldwin Village?"
We used to live by Baldwin Village.
Live over there. But I thought she was actually upon a rewatch. I thought, I would be happy to also, because she's a big part of how the ladies end up solving their problem.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't mind the sequel having her in it as well, because she was pretty cool.
She's cool, and they give her the the renovated apartments.
Yeah, and charge her double.
It's dirty, but yeah, I really like that. So I think it's awesome. It made enough money to get a sequel. I mean,
next, Artificial.
Guadagnino. So his Sergeant Rock Daniel Craig project got delayed for a year. So he's apparently going to do this AI movie starring Andrew Garfield and Monica Barbaro, who I think was just Oscar nominated for that Bob Dylan movie, which you did not see. But like him, I'll watch anything he does.
Bitter Christmas.
Almodovar has a new project that I think is going to be lensing soon, starring Victoria Luengo and Patrick Criado. So, I'm glad he's not resting on his laurels.
Histoire de la Nuit.
Histoire de la Nuit.
Histoire de la... Okay.
Which I believe is like Histories of the Night. Leah Macias, screenwriter, director. I didn't really love her last film, Five Devils, starring Adele Exarchopoulos, but she's got a new project that's about to film, starring Hafsia Herzi and Benoit Magimel.
Lastly, Disorder.
Another Benoit Magimel project.
Would you like to hear about one of my disorders?
My disorders. Oh,
Valentina,
young, talented Latino. She's just
she's on this week's Pit Stop with Monet Exchange.
All kinds of bon mots.
Yeah.
This is the sophomore feature that's being developed by Giacomo Abruzzesi, Italian filmmaker. We reviewed his previous film Disco Boy, starring Franz Rogowski, which had that some beautiful cinematography by Helene Louvart and a soundtrack by Vitalik, which if you listen to us, Vitalik is my jam all the way.
This past week on our Patreon, we dropped a review for Twin Falls, Idaho, so people should check that out.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have many reviews coming for the month of June.
Mm-hmm.
So give us your money, and you can listen to them. Unfortunately, there are a couple of entries in the obituaries section. An actor, Jonathan Joss, died. He was killed. He is best known for being a voice on the series King of the Hill.
Yep.
And I saw that. I didn't realize that this might be considered. I didn't realize it was a murder until recently. And then I saw that the local law enforcement had to issue an apology for dismissing the idea that it might be a hate crime related to this gentleman being a homosexual.
Well, I read the statement put out by his husband. That shit is distressing.
Yeah. So this is really unfortunate.
They murdered their dog and stuffed it in their mailbox.
Ugh.
And that he was shot after they made that discovery and were outside screaming. I mean,
yeah,
this shit's nasty.
Yeah.
But we got to, again, a reminder to be careful out there. That there are forces that clearly desire our destruction.
And then an American novelist named Edmund White died this past week. I actually am familiar with who this is. He wrote The Joy of Gay Sex. I'm familiar with him because a while back I was listening to a podcast with I'm not going to say what it was, but there were a couple of basic gays, and they brought him up, and they were being very critical about his writing. And then if I had to describe these people who were criticizing him, I would probably describe them as like slutty losers. So I'm like, Jesus, what did this man say?
I think I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
What did this man say that has them like their dander up? So then I was reading about him, and then I listened to several interviews with him. And then recently a podcast I listened to re-aired an archived interview with him, which was recorded last year. So he sounded a little rickety, but his writing contains it's a lot about sex. And then Edmund White says that he believes he had sex with about 3,000 people in his day.
Okay.
And that most of that happened like in the 60s and 70s. And then when the AIDS epidemic started, he sort of cooled down and then hasn't had sex in quite some time. He attributes that to just getting older and being sick. And then he has a heart condition, which prevents him from taking performance enhancement drugs. So, but I was like thinking about him and listening to him speak. and then thinking about the people who were talking about him and saying that they didn't like some of his writing, it made me think that they're probably uncomfortable because this man spoke very honestly about his sexual proclivities and how he found a lot of meaning, because he writes a lot about, I actually want to get some of his books and read them, but he talks a lot about being younger and like visiting his dad like during the summers to work, and that's where he discovered like these male prostitutes that were in a certain area, and that he would get one every day.
Oh wow,
They were only $10. He would get one every day, and then he talks about how he would consider most of the more meaningful relationships in his life were with, hookups basically, or very casual hookups, and then one of the interviews I listened to, the person interviewing him was like, don't you think your husband, and the guy interviewing him is quite young. He's like, well, don't you think your husband feels a way about you talking about this? And he's like, my husband and I are very open. Like, my husband has a live-in lover here in LA, and like I think they're bi-coastal, whatever. I just thought that while I don't agree with a lot of the stuff he said, and a lot of the stuff he says sounds like something that a gay white man of a particular age would say,
sure,
it also feels very honest. And so that really resonated with me. And I think that this man had a hell of a life. And I feel like we're kind of lucky that he had the ability to write it all down. And I'm looking forward to hopefully reading some of it. We know I have a hard time reading, but I'm going to try.
Well, that's good to hear.
But goodbye to those people.
He's also featured in that documentary Sex Positive from 2008 that we watched many a moon ago.
The secret film this week was my choice, and I chose the 2002 American animated film Lilo and Stitch. This is a Walt Disney Pictures venture. It was only on my radar because a new live action version came out a few weeks ago,
which we would have seen if I hadn't been in France. But when I mentioned,
I didn't agree to watch that.
I would have exerted probably a little pressure on you because we probably should have covered it. But
you would have exerted a little pressure on me.
I would have.
Is that more than the constant pressure you?
Okay. Well,
so there would have been a pressure surge.
I was surprised.
You act like it's all
fry the circuit
board.
We're
not clam happy over here, people. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh boy.
But go ahead.
But you were adamant. Like I hadn't even mentioned it that I was kind of looking forward to it, and you were like adamantly opposed, which I didn't.
Well, I didn't know anything about this damn cartoon.
Well, I was surprised that you actually chose this 2002 film to watch, which I've never seen, but I've always thought Stitch was super cute.
I don't even think I knew what this Stitch thing was. But what is this story about? A lonely Hawaiian girl, Lilo, adopts Stitch, a chaotic alien experiment posing as a dog. As Stitch wreaks havoc, he bonds with Lilo and learns about love and family. Ultimately, Stitch chooses loyalty over destruction, finding Ohana, family and belonging, on Earth. I thought this was cute.
I think, especially the first half, I think is like kind of magical, but then it becomes, as it wraps up in a chase scene towards its resolution, I think it loses some steam, but I did enjoy it.
I agreed. The movie is not long. It's under 90 minutes. So the first 40 minutes, I was laughing a lot. I felt adult and like a little more adult than I would have expected. But yes, the second half to me felt like a Saturday morning cartoon. So overall, I think it's good and cute, but it isn't, you're writing a piece for Spin, so you've been rewatching a lot of things, including you rewatched Little Mermaid, Lion King, Aladdin. And so I was in and out for those. And, those, even just walking by for, and sitting for 5 minutes and watching, they do feel magical. I don't know that, I know that for me, this movie didn't hit that level.
No, but
it's a different kind of movie. It's funnier, I think. Well, I don't know about Aladdin. Aladdin's pretty funny.
Robin Williams.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus, I don't even know how they. I'd be curious to learn.
There's probably 100,000 hours of him, and they had to cut it down to what's appropriate for children,
and probably animate around him.
And
there was a falling out with Disney.
And Robin
and
Williams.
Robin Williams. He didn't like how they were marketing it based around him, and that's why he does not return for the sequel, The Return of Jafar. The man, I forget his name, the man that voices Homer Simpson voices the genie in the sequel.
The story is basically what I read. So there's this, what are they called? Some kind of federation.
In intergalactic,
the United Galactic Federation.
Mm-hmm.
So the opening of the film is this federation, and they're on like a spaceship, and they are like having a trial against this scientist, talking about, we think you're doing unethical experiments. And the scientist is a little shady. He's like, no.
Jumba, voiced by David Ogden Stiers.
And they're like, girl, we have proof. And they pop up this creature who we eventually named Stitch.
Which is funny. They all gasp in horror, and it's like, y'all look crazy.
Every single one of them is scary.
Yeah.
So I don't know why y'all are scared of this little bitty thing, like the smallest thing.
With 6 appendages, yeah.
Yeah. But Stitch is like a Tasmanian devil.
Oh, yeah.
So he is initially seems less civilized because all of these sort of alien life forms who are part of this federation are highly evolved.
Supposedly.
So they decide, okay, scientist, you're basically like in prison forever. And this creature, we can't have this creature on our planet, so we're going to banish it to exile. So they put it on a spaceship.
Mm-hmm.
But it turns out Stitch is, and at this point, he doesn't have it doesn't have a name.
Cunning. He's cunning.
But Stitch is smart.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna.
You're assigning him a gender.
I'm assigning Stitch male, but
okay,
I don't know.
He's he's not anatomically correct, and
we don't know what he's working. Yeah. What this creature is working with, but Stitch is smart and is able to escape the ship that's sending him to exile. But Stitch crash lands on Earth, mm-hmm. which they're calling E-Earth, mm-hmm. which I thought was funny. And we learned that the Federation considers E-Earth a protected reserve, mm-hmm. but not because of the humans. It's because they understand that mosquitoes are an endangered species.
And mosquitoes feed on the humans.
So they need to keep Earth safe so they can rebuild the mosquito population.
Although if they were really that evolved, they could realize they could decimate the humans and the mosquitoes would still live on all the other animals.
Wow. Okay, so Stitch crash lands on Earth. Okay, so on Earth, there's this little girl named Lilo.
Who's voiced by Davy Chase, who, it's interesting, right after we watched this, I brought up Spirited Away.
Okay.
Because she voices Chihiro in the English language track for Spirited Away.
Oh, so she voices 2 annoying children.
She's also Samara in The Ring.
What?
Yeah, crazy.
Good for her. Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Anyway, Lilo is this badass little girl who is supposed to be raised by her sister because their parents have recently died. Her sister's older.
Nanny, voiced by the wonderful Tia Carrera, who I think is doing some great voice work here.
She is, but both of them are a little out of control. Mm-hmm. But Lilo is real out of control. And so much so that a social worker, Mr. Bubbles.
Cobra Bubbles.
And we only know it's Cobra because he has Cobra tattooed on his knuckles.
It's very Robert Mitchum in... God, my Night of the Hunter.
But Mr. Bubbles is voiced by the wonderful Ving Rhames.
Yes, who, I mean, there's no mistaking that voice, but this is a social worker that looks like he's from Men in Black.
Wow. And in the end, we realized that he kind of is. But
yeah.
Mr. Bubbles is telling Nani, the older sister, you need to get your shit together, mm-hmm. or I'm going to take your sister away.
You have 3 days.
And Lilo is just, I mean, everything that could go wrong goes wrong. Yes. So that's when Mr. Bubbles says, okay, you have 3 days and I'll be watching. And if you don't get your shit together and get a job, because part of Nani's problem is she can't hold down a job, partially because her sister ruins everything.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, her sister Nani overhears Lilo praying, like, please, I need a friend, because the kids at school can't stand her raggedy ass. But so Nani goes to the pound to let Lilo pick out a dog. And we see that when Stitch landed, he got like run over by a truck, mm-hmm. but he's almost like indestructible, mm-hmm. but is, seemingly injured. So these men take Stitch to the pound.
And he loses all his little weapons, the little chaos demon that he is.
And Stitch scares all the dogs. So it's kind of funny. All the dogs are like hiding. So when Lilo goes to find a dog, the only thing she sees is Stitch. And of course, she likes him.
Well, and he sees a poster.
And because Stitch is smart, he sees a poster and realizes like, oh, what I want to do to get out of here is get adopted. So let me be nice to this little girl.
And he's being hunted. So he knows he needs protection.
Yeah, the head of the Council of the Federation, she has sent 2 people to come capture Stitch, but because they're evolved, because E-Earth is a protected reserve, they don't want to disrupt the wildlife, so they're trying to be discreet in capturing Stitch.
The fragile, simple-minded wildlife.
Yeah, because they think that humans are basic, which I guess we are. But anyway, so the bulk of the movie are these 2 creatures trying to capture Stitch while Mr. Bubbles is watching Nani and Lilo live their little raggedy lives. Everything keeps going wrong. Nani keeps getting fired from every job she gets. But ultimately, the 2 creatures from the Federation are found out. Like Lilo and Nani and Stitch know they're looking for them. So Stitch does end up getting captured. And the head of the Federation comes down and says, okay, we're going to take you back. But at this point, we need to get back to it, but Stitch can talk. And so Stitch, in a very calm manner, asks the leader, is it okay if I say goodbye? And she's kind of shocked, like, oh, I wasn't expecting this thing to be able to feel this way. And then Stitch explains, like, these people are my family. And Ohana, which means family. And the leader of the Council Federation, who's, again, they're represented as like evolved beings. Because originally the thought was that this thing is not natural and doesn't have. They even give Stitch a chance in the beginning. They say, "Can you exemplify something that would indicate that you are
worth saving?"
Yeah. And Stitch can't do anything but say something nasty. But now that she sees that he's evolved and has feelings, she is convinced to let Stitch stay on Earth with his new family. And then we get a little montage of all the key players, because the Federation leader also says that the other 2 are the ones who originally came to capture Stitch are, I guess, banished to E-Earth.
Jumba and Pleakley, voiced by Kevin McDonald from Kids in the Hall.
Which we need to get back to that character, because I was reading about the remake, and there's a significant change in the live action remake involving that character.
Oh, is he not doing drag?
So in this cartoon, that Kevin McDonald character Pleakley is mostly in drag, like impersonating a woman, because they recognize that they can't scare humans, so they need to look human. So he's dressed as a woman. But in the live action remake, apparently that's not a plot point. Like, that character exists, but is not doing female illusion.
Oh, yes.
Which is unfortunate.
Because drag is dangerous now. And Disney, of course, is not ever going to court controversy. So
I'm just going to go through my notes. So Stitch is originally referred to by his experiment number, which is 626, which, of course, I kept thinking experiment Mazda 626.
My Mazda, my first car.
Yeah. So Lilo is, like I said, Stitch is smart, because on the spacecraft to Exile, he's told that there are weapons like following him, and it senses his DNA. So don't try to pull a fast one, because they're going to shoot at your DNA. So Stitch is like, okay, so if I spit, it's going to shoot at the saliva. So he's able to escape by spitting on like the guard and the wall.
Oh yeah, he's a little troublemaker.
Stitch is a problem.
Oh, he's cute though. But so he goes hand in hand with Lilo, because
she is
peas in a pod, and it's funny watching them together.
Well, I think what's cute and probably appeals more to adults is that, my mom, who was a nanny for her entire working life, I remember that she took care of a little girl who reminded me of Lilo. She was bad as hell, like a monster. She was a monster. And it was so interesting. My mom is like the most patient woman with children. And it was so interesting to watch her with this little girl, because I'm like, if I had to take care of her, I'd throw her in the kennel.
I wouldn't, yeah.
But yeah, Lilo is wild. We see her getting into a fight with some girls at school,
Mm-hmm.
and she like beats up the girl and bites her.
Uh-huh.
Like, oh my God. And then we see her at the beach, and Lilo has a weird hobby of taking, like, she takes photographs of people on the beach, and then we see all the photographs posted on her wall in her bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't get a sense of like what her subject is. Because at first I thought, oh, she's taking pictures of body parts, but then a lot of them look sunburned.
Mm-hmm.
So then I thought, does this little girl have a fetish for like sunburned, corpulent bodies? Like,
She's an eccentric little thing. But then some things that Nani says, I'm like, oh, the reason your sister's all weird and warped is because you are too.
yeah, the sister's a problem too. I mean, when we first meet her, she's running to the school to pick up her sister who's been like suspended or removed.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just running down the street, not paying attention, and almost causes an accident.
Mm-hmm.
And then she yells at the car. And
Mhm.
it's like, oh, I see what we're dealing with. You're on some bullshit too. That's why your sister's raggedy.
Exactly.
But I have to say, the first half of the movie, even though she was frustrating me, Lilo, what made up for it is that she is quirky and the writing is funny.
Yes.
But that little girl screams, and I'm like, oh, I even asked you, could you turn the volume down? This is getting tiresome.
Well, I mean, that's having a child. Meanwhile, our own cat was talking all through this movie.
Yeah, and then the cat was acting weird while we were watching this movie. So when the social worker shows up, so Lilo was removed from class, so her sister has to come get her, but then Lilo doesn't stay at school, so of course the sister's upset and then is running home to make sure her sister's at home. But then Lilo has nailed the door shut. So Nani, her sister, is like half of her body is through the doggy door, screaming at her sister, trying to remove the nails from the door, like threatening to like blend, like threatening violence against her. When guess who's standing over her? Mr. Bubbles.
Mm-hmm.
So of course he's like, this isn't good. They get in the house and he's like, so do you often leave your sister home alone? And one of the biggest laughs I had is as he's saying that, Lilo has drawn, there's a portrait on the refrigerator that Lilo drew of her.
Like in a corner.
And she wrote me alone. I'm going to think about that for a long time. That was like, very funny.
Her sister's like, do you want to get taken away? Like, what are you doing?
Oh, and then another really, that entire scene with Mr. Bubbles is funny because then Mr. Bubbles is trying to talk to the social worker's trying to talk to the child, one-on-one to get her side of the story. But the older sister is behind Mr. Bubbles trying to sign like what
prompts, yeah,
what Lilo should say. And at first it's going well, but then things go off the rails. And ultimately Lilo starts saying, she disciplines me 5 times a day with bricks in a pillowcase. Yeah, it's so weird that I just thought the writing, like the comedic writing, is so strong. And then halfway through, it just becomes like a chase movie.
Yes, yeah.
And then it just really does become as basic as like any Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah, it was written by Dean DeBlois and Chris Sanders, who also directed the original How to Train Your Dragon, which also is getting a live action remake about to be released, I think next week. And then recently did The Wild Robot, I believe.
As Mr. Bubbles is watching Lilo just live, at one point he sees her doing something weird, and he sees that she's sitting next to a book called Practical Voodoo, and then she's conjuring up something with like pickle juice and frog legs or something. And painted faces. And then what does she say? Oh, some girls at school.
My friends need to be punished.
Yeah, some girls at school need to be punished. Again, I think that is so funny.
All the little book titles, because Stitch also, there's a theme about the ugly duckling that kind of helps him communicate his needs. But Stitch picks up a book called Oyster Farming. Is it for you? Like, why do they have that? And then something about Iowa roads or something.
Yeah, like some generic atlas. Okay, when we first see Stitch, when Stitch is in the pound, he's his like normal self. He has 6 limbs and like weird tentacles, spiky things on his back. And of course, all the dogs are so freaked out. But then when he sees that ad and realizes, oh, I should probably try to mimic a dog. It was really cute how he sort of squeezes his body parts in. He also does something really cute when I think he's angry and he wants to get away, he like bites his bottom and then turns into a ball.
Yeah.
I wish I could do that.
The plot is kind of like E.T. mixed with Critters.
Yes.
Because you remember in Critters, which those movies are terrible, but those fur balls are being pursued by this rock glam aliens.
Oh, I didn't mention probably the most important thing is Stitch was created by the scientists to be destructive. Like Stitch is programmed to go to a large city and just wreak havoc. So that's why he's like a Tasmanian devil, because he's just built to destroy. But he's kind of calm at the moment because he's on an island, like in this rural village. But he's trying to make his way to a large city. So at one point we get a scene early on where he hops on he steals a tricycle from one of those mean girls and grabs Lilo, and they go on a journey. And it seems like he goes to every corner of the island.
Yeah.
When finally Lilo goes, it's nice to live on an island with no large cities. And he looks so bad.
Well, he reconstructs in her bedroom. He sees some on television, some old monster movie.
Well, and then she goes, you wreck everything you touch. Why not make something? And then Stitch makes of all the things in her room, makes a pretty decent replica of San Francisco.
And then destroys it.
And proceeds to destroy it. Okay. Again, just funny things to me at one point, because, Lilo's bad, but then now, I know what I was going to say earlier. I think a theme that probably resonated more with adults is that this little girl, that's when I mentioned that kid my mom used to watch, is that like this little girl, her temperament starts to change when because she's bad, but then now that she has to take care of something that's bad, she realizes like, this is a problem.
Yes.
Which is often the case with adult children who are kind of bratty and don't appreciate their parents. And then it's like, you wait until you have kids. And then all of a sudden you're like, now you respect your parents and appreciate everything they did for you. So I think it's funny that that's how Lilo is slowly evolving.
Learning. Well, that's what pets are supposed to do for children anyways.
Yeah.
Like you learn to care for something is not an easy task all the time.
So I do think it's a sweet message. I wonder if children who watch the movie get that, like that, it's hard trying to care for something, and you could make it easier for them if you care about them.
Right.
Oh gosh. So then because Stitch is being bad and Lilo seems to be getting a little frustrated with him, at one point she draws a picture of Stitch, and then she draws his badness level.
Yeah, which is up to his ears.
And it's like up to here, and she tells him like, look, this is your badness level, and it's a little too high.
She's like, for your size, it's too high.
Yeah, for your size, it's too much.
We have to work
I thought
on
that was very, very funny. And then at one point, who says that Stitch used to be a collie before he got ran over?
She does at the restaurant. And then
oh my gosh,
he eats that cake, and then he eats both their pieces of cake, and she gets upset, so he regurgitates it and puts it back together.
And then like vomits up the cherry on top and puts it back, but it's all glazed like a hunk of Spam. Although they're in Hawaii, they like Spam.
That's true.
No, I thought you were going to say so. Nani was frustrating me because her big issue and why the social worker has a problem with this situation is that Nani can't keep a job. Why can't Nani keep a job? Because she keeps letting her sister come to her job and just wreck shit.
Well, with this monster especially, it's like...
But I don't understand, because we've already established that Nani leaves her sister alone at home.
True, but that's a problem as well.
It is, but it's also like, okay, you need to either find a babysitter but definitely don't bring her to work. But we keep seeing her losing her job because she brings her sister and this little monster to work.
She's also a young single woman who's also lost her parents.
Sure.
Like that, she doesn't know any
I'm
better.
probably being too hard on her. But at one of her first job, we see her in that she loses. Stitch attacks some woman. Well, it's not a woman. It's Pleakley? Pleakley, dressed up as a woman.
He's got Pleakley's head in his mouth. In their mouth, and then that wig stays on Pleakley's head.
Yes, and then
and I love how Pleakley keeps wanting to be considered beautiful.
Yeah, and then when Stitch finally lets go, Nani's boss shows up, and of course they're all panicked, like, what's going on? And Nani looks at Peekly and goes, your head looks swollen. And then what's the other creature's name? That's the scientist. Jumba goes, actually, she's just ugly.
Right? Like, oh,
like,
Jumba, who prefers to be called an evil genius, was giving me Miss Isabel Brooks vibes.
Oh yeah, Dr. Jumba Jukiba is giving Mistress Isabel Brooks for sure. For sure.
Like, oh, you're just a shit stirrer, huh?
Yeah. So we learn at a point, because Nani is fed up with Stitch, and she grabs his ass and is about to throw him out the front door, when Lilo reminds her of Ohana, which means family. And then what does that mean to them? No one gets forgotten or left behind.
Yeah.
And that's when Nani realizes she can't get rid of Stitch. And then that idea is used later to show that Stitch received that message and that he considers them his family. But after that point, Lilo's trying to make a home for Stitch, and like, she made him a little bed, but he wants to take her bed, and then she makes him a bottle and she fills that bottle with coffee.
That's why you can't have kids do shit. It's like, what? And then he gets the zoomies.
He gets the zoomies and doesn't want to let her sleep in her own bed.
That's what I think is so funny initially in their relationship, because he's straight up kind of mean to Lilo. Like, he's knocking her around.
Well, because he's just using her as a cover initially. So yeah, he doesn't give a damn about her. But during that moment with the coffee in the bed, he starts tearing up her room, and she has like an easel with some of her artwork, and he tears it, and she goes, hey, that's from my blue period. I thought that was very funny.
Well, you kind of grow up fast when you have that kind of loss. So I think it fits, actually.
So there's a montage of Nani trying to find work. And so, of course, she's leaving Lilo and Stitch to their own devices while she's interviewing for these jobs or trying to get jobs. And during that process, so I don't think I mentioned, but during this movie, we get many Elvis Presley songs.
Yeah, they must have played a pretty penny for that. Because that one concert he did in the 70s was in Hawaii that got broadcast everywhere. That was a huge deal. So maybe he's imprinted upon Hawaii and more than I realized.
Oh, someone who I saw has commented on many videos. Oh, I don't know if I mentioned this either, but people who comment on YouTube videos as the creator from the studio platform, if I click on the person's name, I can see how many comments they've left and how many times I've liked their comments. So a good indication of whether or not they're a nice viewer is like, oh, you've left 30 comments and you have 1 star. Like, I've only liked one thing, so clearly I didn't like. But anyway, some person commented that it makes their skin crawl when they hear us say several many.
Do we both say that?
Yeah, but
it's to be funny, though.
It's to be funny. Like,
yeah. I mean, okay.
But
like when you say old timey times, I mean, shit, it's supposed to be funny. Like,
anyway, there are many Elvis Presley songs in this movie, and during the job hunting montage, Lilo is keeping Stitch occupied by teaching him how to basically be Elvis. So it culminates in Stitch on the beach being Elvis, and at first it goes well, but then all these people rush him to take pictures, and it freaks him out. So he
he straight up throws this man.
Yeah, he tears up the beach.
So afterwards, you said you don't want to see the live action version. I'm actually very curious to see more of Stitch.
I watched the trailer, and I mean, it has mixed reviews, so I'm sure I'll find it slightly amusing. But
he's cute though.
Well, it would have to be like bedtime, 6-part viewing.
When I was a child, that's all I wanted was have my own little private menagerie of creatures. Like, I still remember my first kitty.
What has changed?
I like little creatures.
You're actually as difficult as Lilo, except you haven't learned your lesson. But anyway,
I still remember that my first little kitty that my parents brought me, and it was a male, but I named it Tiger Lily.
Did you strangle it to death?
No, I think a weasel got it.
Damn.
My dad didn't let cats inside the house, and I had many growing up, and we lived in the country. But now my parents, who don't have grandchildren, have Maine Coons and treat them like they are royalty. Like, my
Someone's
Lord.
mad.
Well, it's just a 180 because my dad didn't like cats at all.
Well,
in fact, there's a tragic story about my mother's Siamese cats when they first got married. Anyway, but yes, Tiger Lily I found her deflated body, and my parents said it was an weasel.
we need to wrap this up. But at a point, I did feel like
Trauma.
Mr. Bubbles needs to take Lilo away.
Well, that's the thing. It's like,
right? I mean, they're not making it.
Nanny is
Mary
not.
Tyler Moore would. They're not going to make it anyway.
You're not going to make it after all. Well, yeah, Nani needs help, but also what's frustrating is this, the system.
You know what? This would be a good companion piece with Tyler Perry's Straw.
Actually, strangely,
right?
But Nanny, like, why is the system not saying, like, well, maybe these programs would help you, or that there are certain services that are available to you that you're not utilizing that would help you with Lilo for daycare, like, so you can work. Like, what is she supposed to do?
Thanks, Obama. All right. Every time I say that, people get so mad in the comments, like as if I'm anti-Obama.
It's a joke. Well, what was that movie with Melissa McCarthy, Tammy, when didn't she lighting a car on fire and she's going, "Thanks, Obama." That's about the speed of things. Yeah.
So at a point when Lilo is captured, when Stitch is captured, they also take Lilo. And I also thought maybe Lilo needs to go to outer space with her badass. And then in the ship, what's his name? Stitch.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say Stench. Stitch is able to get out of the thing they're in.
For real though, what's he smell like?
So that thing's not airtight. They're about to go to outer space in this thing. This little creature can just
human girl,
and this human girl's in there. That didn't feel very safe.
Well, because Stitch almost drowned, so he can't be that indestructible.
Right. But I mean, he does get run over by like 3 semis and he's fine. So I mean,
I like his little hands.
I will say, I don't think that I like Stitch talking. I did not like. I preferred Stitch to do monster talk. I didn't like. Him actually, because it sounded like a human doing this kind of voice. I didn't.
And he was voiced, but that voice was done by Chris Sanders, the co-writer, co-director. And I think that it doesn't really.
It wasn't giving.
Yeah.
Okay. Finally, I had mentioned earlier, or you had mentioned that social worker Mr. Bubbles is like MIB status, but we find out that when the head of the Federation comes down, this alien creature, she recognizes Mr. Bubbles, and he goes, "Oh yeah, CIA, Roswell, 1973." So they had met before. So of course it's like, oh, so he's like Men in Black now, social worker. Okay.
She was voiced by Zoe Caldwell, the Grand Councilwoman, who is now dead. She died in 2020, but she's in Jonathan Glazer's Birth. And her last film was extremely loud and incredibly close. She played the grandma.
Well, we have an event to get ready for, but I didn't give a score. What would you give Lilo and Stitch?
3.5.
I did enjoy it. I think this will make a great airplane movie.
Not an airplane movie. Geez.
Yeah, like I would watch the first half, and then when the second half hits, that's when I get up to go to the bathroom.
Take a nappy.
All that jazz. But I don't know. This week, what's coming up? I know we're seeing Materialists, which people messaged about.
Yeah. And then I'm excited actually for Echo Valley, the Julianne Moore, Sydney Sweeney movie.
Oh, okay.
Which is already available for us to see.
And then you were watching Sirens?
Oh God.
People were asking about Sirens.
I don't like it. I'm 1.5 episodes in. I don't like it.
Listen, you were watching it in bed and I was trying to fall asleep, and every few minutes I would pop my head out like, WTF, like this sounds ridiculous. What is this? But I like Julianne Moore.
And Megan Fahey, and now I like her too. But I'm watching it for Julianne, but ugh.
Are you reading anything?
Oh, I finished reading Marlene by Philip Gian, and wow, what an end to that. Who of course wrote Betty Blue and Elle. The book that Elle is based on is called OH ... ellipsis // somebody needs to make Marlene. If I mean, I would love to adapt Marlene. I think that what a fantastically dark, weird, strange human movie that would make. But it's a 2017 novel, but I like that. Right now I'm reading a couple things because I'm preparing for an article that I need to really get started on. about gay villains, and I'm reading The Thornbirds because that will be a Patreon selection of my choice, the miniseries.
Wait! Don't say that. Wait, a mini series. So you're going to pay 3 times.
Sure.
So it's going to happen over 3 months.
No, we would watch it like you'd have to watch it all at once. It's not that long.
Well, you can't. I don't want people to think that they can.
It's not people. It's me.
This is not going to be this is a one-time exception that we're going to figure out.
Well, I didn't.
I don't want people thinking I'm going to sit and watch.
I'm making my way through I, Claudius alone. I'm not no, because my grand scheme is I want to do that with this, and then I'm going to read Roots soon, and I also want to
Shaka Zulu.
I want to do a Patreon for Roots, but that's going to be a massive undertaking. But I want to read the book.
Hopefully, we're alive that long.
Will
you
be,
at least. Anyway,
we'll be okay.
Anything else?
No.
Ta-ta.